Welcome to Seekers and Shifters, where we talk to the world's foremost experts in personal growth and development and ask them everything we really want to know.
Hey there, seekers and shifters. It is your host, Michelle, and I am here with my new friend, Dr. Donella. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Dr. Donella, and I have an expertise in complementary, integrative, and alternative medicine. I'm a soul physician with a doctorate of divinity in metaphysics. I have the CEO and founder of Supernal World Creations, which is a nonprofit that does humanitarian innovations. And we have a product called Soul Link. And I'm here today to talk about Soul Link.
I'm so excited to dive into this. And Dr. Donella, you are one of those people that I met you, and 30 seconds into the conversation, I was like, can we hit record on this conversation and put it on? And you graciously agreed. So thank you so much.
Yes.
May I ask first about being a soul physician, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's quite unique. It's something that's quite different, I would say, for anybody that hears it. It started 18 years ago when I had a near-death experience. And after that near-death experience, I came back with an understanding of the soul on a high degree that as of now, 18 years later, I understand probably the soul more than I do most things in this world. So it's everything related to, I would say, your higher self, your inner self, everything that's probably not in your external world. It's everything that's in your internal world. Why am I here? What am I doing? Why do I think this way? What's my perception of reality that's so different than others? All of those things I understand to a high degree.
That's so interesting, and there's so much to that, and I wanna ask, like, what is one big epiphany you had about the soul or the nature of a soul through that experience?
One of the biggest epiphanies I had, well, after the near death experience, I was bedridden for a year. It was a severe accident. I was in a coma for 3 days. So when I came back, I was very broken. And my communication with the other side, when I was there, it continued when I was here. So with that, the conversations were ongoing. And I was asking, why did this happen? What's going on? Why am I bedridden? And, I had lost vision in one of my eyes because the nerve got nicked in my head from the injury. And so the eyeball was in the corner. I mean, it was very severe. So my questions were very, deep of why is this happening? What's going on? And I was spiritual before, but nothing like I started to learn as the conversations went on. But the biggest epiphany I would say that I learned was I was explained that we each have a soul. And like, just imagine like a ball of light. And in that ball of light, let's say that's your soul, and that's on your inside, your internal world. And when your light shines out, it's we notice things in this external world that are not always positive. So what does that mean? And I was able to see that there's these fragmented pieces that are kind of like on the outside of the light of the soul that are blocking our soul. And when that light shines, the fragmented pieces that's blocking it shows up as the disruption that's in our life. And everybody has them. Our opportunity this lifetime is to help transmute and remove those fragments so that the light that we know and feel inside is actually what shows up in our external world. But with that, I learned everything is an inside job.
100%.
And nothing is actually external. It's actually all internal because it's all our fragments, our lessons, our opportunities, so that we can, let our light shine and be our soul self that we know ourselves to be.
The
So that
call
was
is
my biggest epiphany. Yeah.
calls coming from inside the house, folks. How do you, as a soul physician, then help guide people to remove those fragments, or whatever language you would use in terms of like uncovering?
Yeah, that's where the process is not always easy. Obviously, we've all had problems, we've all had things, and we move through them, but we don't necessarily always clear all the energy vibrationally from that which we're clearing. We might remove some of it, but then there's a lingering, feeling or belief system that we have to move. So it's a very intricate process. It's not a simple answer. But I would say that I created a way to transmute through my time on the other side. I learned a different tool that was given to me as a divine providence. And that's what I utilized to work with people personally, to help transmute the energy. And then I was, realizing that I can only help so many people one-on-one. And that's when I took something that I did when I was working on myself and my healing, because the 18 years has been quite a journey of healing for myself as well. And I utilize sound. So sound is a very beautiful tool in order to transmute energy. And there's different things out there for the sound, like binaural beats or Safagi frequencies. We've probably heard of some of those, isochronic tones. But it wasn't as if they combined all of those. And I was able to see formulas that if we could combine Safagi frequencies with brainwave entrainment and isochronic tones and transcendental mantra music through sound, like if we could take all these sound pieces and put them together into one, it could actually do a deeper dive into the healing of sound and what we need for the transmutation of these fragmentations. So that's when I took that formulation that I was able to create and put it into a patent that we have patent pending now in 49 countries through the nonprofit Supernal World Creations. And we are for humanitarian innovation. So this is an innovation that we have put into an app through sound and visuals to help each person work on those fragments that we all have and to meet you where you're at. So if you're just beginning the journey, it's not invasive. It's something that will be very, gentle and helping. Or if you've done work for a long time and you just need that extra push or that last thing, it can do that for you too. So I found sound to be one of the best tools in my energy healing that I've done on myself and on others.
That's so cool. Is the app available now? When's it coming out, or when can we access it?
Yeah, the app is actually available now. We have it on Android, Apple, and also the web. And soon we will be launching, which I'm so excited for, the Apple Vision Pro. So virtual reality experience for this, wonderful sound healing journey. And also, we also do visuals too. So when you do the meditation app, you actually, choose a sound, choose music, and then you choose a visual. Because I noticed most people, when I worked with them, had trouble meditating, because when you close your eyes and you turn inside, that's when you see all those fragments that are blocking. And, we get distracted. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I didn't do this right. Like if you start to go deep, you start to see all the stuff, and that can be hard to spend the time and want to go there, because then it's like, what am I going to do with that? And it actually makes you feel, like your vibration's a little bit lower. And not like you actually accomplished anything with the meditation. So I've always thought eyes open approach for meditation would be helpful. And therefore, we have given you the option. You don't have to choose the videos if you don't want to, but we do have cinematic earth visuals that we have recorded ourselves on a drone. So you are elevated, flying through any naturescape that you choose, because you have different choices. And we've done plenty of things within the visuals to make it something that's actually very healing as well. We have formulated the visuals to have visual imprinting, sacred geometry, quantum theory, epigenetics, Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. Like we put all of those pieces within what you're experiencing and just watching the beautiful scenery. So therefore, when you're actually opening up your brain for the meditation, you can actually let the visuals that you're watching be something that's reflective on a cellular level, something that's very healing for you.
This is so cool. I didn't want an Apple Vision Pro until just now, and I might go buy one just just to do that.
Seriously, it's another world. Like, because virtual reality is another world, but if you can actually be in nature in 4K and then have these audios, I mean the audios being 360, and you move around and you just look around and you're actually flying forward slowly. Like we slow them down so it's meditative, and you're going in nature, it's another world. And it actually feels so inspiring and invigorating once you've experienced it. And then you take the Apple Vision Pro off and you actually look outside in the world and you see things differently. Like it's a whole nother experience that really is exciting because it's like you get the chills on a cellular level of excitement because it's just invigorating. It's a different way to meditate, and the eyes open meditation with this kind of sound. It's just revolutionary. If you ask me, I'm excited about it. And I'm excited to share it because we all need healing, right? There's so much happening in the world and we all are looking for, things to make our daily life better. Um, Everybody's got financial hardships or where's the world going, concerns about the future or fear, anxiety, health problems. I mean, relationship stuff. I mean, there's a lot of fragments that people are dealing with because a lot of all of those pieces that are blocking our souls are being lit up so that we can work on them. But we don't know. We're overwhelmed with stuff. So just imagine a tool that actually helps you and just is enjoyable. And again, 18 years ago, this is what I did so that I could come out of my, my state of being that, doctors actually considered me disabled. After the year I was tested and they said, we don't know what to do. We don't know where things are going to go. Your brain can still heal, but, you're actually qualified for disability. And I'm thinking, this is not where I'm going to go. I'm going to do this stuff. And I see this stuff and they're just like, whatever you want to tell yourself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they think I'm crazy or something because I'm like, no, I'm really going to do this. So now 18 years later, I have done it and I'm so excited to share it because we all could use.
It's so amazing. And, so my background is I train entrepreneurs and I'm a how person. I help people achieve big visions. And it's so cool to see you doing this because so many people that are in this healing space exist in these little corners and little pockets. And I'm not saying this in a way to diminish anybody in any way, but most folks who are doing healing work, whether it's, sound healing or facilitating plant medicine journeys or something like they're working with one person at a time, they're working with maybe a few people in a small group at a time. And it's hard to figure out how to scale that on any kind of massive level. And what you've done is really figured out how to take these healing modalities and scale them in a way that they're super accessible. I mean, that's the other thing is a lot of these things are expensive, time consuming. Maybe you've got to travel to Costa Rica. You got to spend 10 or $15,000. They're not accessible to everybody. And you're really democratizing that in a way.
Well, and I have to say, it's all coming from my higher self too. Part of this tuning into your inner self and removing those fragments is that you tune into that frequency of your soul that will help you see that path forward and help you get there. And so the more that I tuned into it, even though I was starting out very successfully in my personal helping people, I did have mentors, and the mentors, actually were able to say to me, you are going to be successful. You have this divine providence. However, you can only help so many people. And they were able to foresee that I would need more based on their experience. There's only so many people they could mentor and help too. And, what do you have? What are your ideas to help more on a global level? Because, these sages that I worked with, want to help the world globally. That is their mission. And so studying for these doctorates, the work that I was able to do with others and my mentors and teachers are really the ones that helped bring out that inspiration. However, the work I did on myself, tuning in, I could see the answers. It took a lot. It took a lot of formation. It took a lot of taking all of this wisdom and breaking it down to something smaller, and then, trying to explain it to the world what I've done and created without, getting them confused in all the verbiage that I understand, but most people don't. But it was very much inspired by others. So, if you have that thought or that idea or that inspiration, don't lose hope of it because, they start out small, but you'll notice after time, they'll keep expanding and expanding. Mine actually started 27 years. So that was prior to the accident that's 18 years ago when I was pregnant with my son. And so 27 years ago when I was pregnant, I remember knowing that this child's brain is programmable. Like I was told and shown that this brain is programmable. Make sure everything you say is very positive and make sure that, you play music and all the great stuff that can help this child have a great imprint of their brain. And, just looking at that and studying that, you can see that the brain and the subconscious are programmable, and everything a child's around between 0 and 3 really helps to facilitate. So that's a beautiful thing. But what do we do after it's already programmed? What if the child was around really invasive stuff, or things happened even up till 6 years old? There's ways to actually work with the programs of the brain and helping to get rid of that trauma response, or whatever we've been through, whatever our imprint was that our fragments are reflecting. It's working with the brain, and sound does that. The sound helps your brain go from alpha to theta to beta consciousness, so that that subconscious level can be more original to your soul rather than the belief system or the programs. So if you are inspired with something, like, again, that was 27 years ago, don't lose hope for it, because it was for 27 years. I'm thinking, what am I supposed, I want to help the world with this. I want all babies to be able to experience this. And so it formulates over time. Your desires usually don't shift. So don't give up on them. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's those inspirations that, we don't want to lose track of. So even if right now some people aren't where they want to be, or they're starting small, like I started with just helping people individually, and you have a dream and a desire to help more, there usually is the way. So just keep your heart open to those desires, and you can prove to be fruitful.
I love that so much. And I especially love what you said about starting to share your vision with other people, and how in the beginning that can be uncomfortable. Maybe you haven't formulated it into something snappy or something really simple or easy to understand. That's a process too. It takes a while. And maybe at first you're just starting to share it however you can share it. And there are people who get it and there are people who don't, and it helps you refine it over time. But being able to bring other people into your vision and enroll them in that is so important. And so many entrepreneurs, especially beginning entrepreneurs, really struggle with that. And they'll come and they'll even before they'll have a consult with me, they'll say, "Oh, can you sign an NDA? And then I'll tell you about my business idea." And I'm like, "Sure, I'll sign an NDA. I sign lots of NDAs,
Yeah.
and I will keep confidential anything you ask me to." And the value is not in the idea, the value is in the execution. And it's other people who are going to be helping you execute that, and that are going to be saying, "Well, what about this? And what about this? Or you should talk to so and so, or I can help you get funding, or I can," and it's that process. And so I love how you describe almost that braiding in of teachers, mentors, friends who can help you start to achieve it, and they start to get it too. And as you do that, then it becomes easier and easier to say it in a way that more and more people understand, which it's clear from the way that you talk about it that this has been a process, and it's come to the point where you can just jump on here with me, tell me about it. I get it instantly.
Well,
I'm not an expert
yeah,
in things you're an expert in, but I can follow what you're saying.
exactly. Well, and the one thing that when I was on the other side, the one thing I was told is, it's you're not your time yet. You need to go back. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? And I was told to utilize a bridging technique. So you bridge two things together. And utilize the bridging technique. I had studied some energy medicine, so I kind of knew what that was, and use the bridging technique to help heal. And there's only certain people that are going to be healed through you. So you need to go back because they need to be healed from you, because that's your destiny. And I'm thinking, okay, but then I was like, is that it? Like, I thought it was like, I would have more than that. I mean, I was pretty young at the time. And I'm thinking, they said, no, you're going to make it your own. You're going to do your own thing, but just start there. Use that. They gave me that one tool. And to this day, I'm still so fascinated with that. I mean, part of the soul link experience is bridging the two pieces together, or multiple pieces together, like the sound. And even like, your teachers, or you work with somebody else other than you. That's also a bridging technique too. Whenever you bring two things together, you get more of the oneness and the unity. So anything, even if it's within the self. So let's say you're working on yourself, and you take your external world that you know very well of who you are and what you're doing, but then with your internal world that you're still trying to discover, you're still bridging those two pieces. So we have two eyes, two ears, two hands. There's a lot of stuff that's dualistic in this world. But when we bring those two things together, tides go in and out, it gets dark and it gets light. There's a lot of duality. However, When we make it more of a 3-column system, like the light bulb, the light bulb has 2 poles and then you have the filament in between. It's that connecting piece that actually bridges things together. So what I was given as my gift can be shown in many different ways. And again, just sitting here talking with you, sharing with one person, it does so much. And we don't think that it does. However, there are small things we do, holding the door open for somebody, when we're going somewhere. There's a lot that can be said in sharing our gifts. And also, just even out of courtesy and kindness. It goes a long way that we don't necessarily think, because again, when I was told use the bridging technique, I'm like, that's it. I'm on the other side and I'm thinking I'm going to get this some grand revelation. I get like tiny little piece of something, but again, that's expanded into many different things. Truth is very simple, and that shows it to be.
Well, and it's when it comes down to it, is what's more important than relationship and connection and having that. So when there's an exchange of energies, the sum being greater than the whole being greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like you said, holding the door for somebody, right? The practice. I go on my little mental health walk every day and just looking people in the eye and smiling and saying good morning. And I live in a place. I live in outside of Washington D.C. East Coast culture where there's not a lot of eye contact. There's not a lot of saying good morning and go. And sometimes people are startled, but then they'll smile back, and it's a positive interaction for two people. It's a seemingly small thing. I was talking about this to a friend this morning, and she's interested in becoming a coach, so beginner, right? Interested in becoming a coach, and was saying, I'm concerned because I don't want to take people's stuff on, and I'm empathic, and starting there. And we were talking about, well, first you learn how to shield yourself so that you're not taking on people's stuff, but then you learn how to project, and it's not, your love and your positive energy, and so that you can actually set the energy of the interaction. And that was a cool conversation to start to have. It's like, it's possible for you to just come from within and create what you want to create in an interaction. And if it's not going the way you want, it's possible for you to reset that, right? And I think that's a control and a power that a lot of people don't realize that they have.
Well, and a lot of people too, they want to do that, but they feel so much stuff inside. That's where those fragmented pieces will always be reflecting, so that we work on them. They're there to remind us not to forget them, but we get so caught up in anxiety or fear-based consciousness or depression because we just energetically don't feel that feeling. And that's where something like Soul Link, listening to it for 5 minutes, 12 minutes, or 22 minutes can literally change your vibration. And then once your vibration is raised, it's a lot easier to be able to do those things. But this kind of raising your vibration isn't just general, like it's literally imprinting in your brain because of the way we've done the auditory part of it. So it's not something that you just do for the moment and then, a couple hours later. It's every time you've invested in it, it actually will be working on things on a really deep level, so that you can be changing over time and not be just doing it one time and feeling good for an hour and then next day, same thing, and kind of going on this, round and round. But I think the words of Albert Einstein said it best, like everything is energy. We know this far, and energy manifests in frequencies. So everything has a frequency. So when you work with sound and the frequencies, it can actually help you on a very deep level if it's done the right way. And then this is something that can give you that boost if you don't feel like smiling at somebody when you go for your walk in the morning or something, because some people feel that way too. And some people feel good and then are inspired. And then you can share it more, but you can in tune to your inner self so that you can actually be working on it with a simple thing to do. And that's what we've created.
It's so cool. It's so beautiful. And there are lots of people who will listen to this and say, yes, I want to get that right now. I get it. I'm ready. And then there are other people who are going to listen to this and say, I want to feel that way. And when I start trying to take action, even if it's to download an app, a small app, I should download an app and start to listen to stuff, the fear comes up and they say, yeah, but then, well, who will I be if I change, or what's underneath, or what's right? That fear of shifting because of the unknown. And so what do you say to people who want to feel different but are scared to make moves?
Well, I know even from losing. So when I had my near death experience, most of my memory was gone. I had amnesia. So I lost most everything. I recognized my family, but I didn't remember most of my childhood. I didn't remember most of my son's childhood. It's quite interesting. It's almost like I had this puzzle and the puzzle was thrown on the table and all the pieces came out and only some pieces were left on the table. The rest were on the floor and then I lost. And the pieces I remembered would be, not normal. Like I could remember my teacher in third grade's birthday, but I couldn't remember my father's, like stuff that didn't make any sense. So even with something as severe as amnesia, to where I actually still feel like right now I'm 18 years old, I don't have a lot of memory from my childhood. Even with something as severe as brain trauma, I always had some inner part of myself that I knew was me, like a dream, an inspiration, some kind of, I would say it's like pointing to your true north. And that is a piece of your soul. You will never, if you're alive, your soul's in your body. And with your soul in your body, regardless of how many fragments, or let's just say there's blankets like over the light. Let's say there's so many blankets over the light that it feels so dark and it could make the room dark, but the light is still on. We always have that one piece of that feeling. And all this does is it expands that. So there's really nothing to fear, because that one component that you are comfortable with, that you do remember that is you, is the only thing that's enhanced. So coming from my traumatic experience, that would be the one thing I can say. I mean, I lost a lot of memory and it's kind of strange to have that happen. People talk about things that, happened in the world, and I'm kind of like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because maybe I was alive back then, but I don't remember when such and such happened or what this means. And, it's quite different. I'm definitely feeling like I'm not like everybody else, because people talk about things that don't make a lot of sense to me. Because of having amnesia. But with something as severe as brain trauma, I would think if I could have the spirit to not only tune into it, but be comfortable with it, I think people could find that light in that darkness, and tune into that. And I would say try it. If you try it once and it doesn't work for you, then this isn't your path. There's plenty of things out there that can be something that you attune to at this moment. But I think if you just try something, you might get that glimpse of, oh, this is going to help that part of me that I am familiar with and I am comfortable with. And then, okay, I want to go down this path. But we always have fear of something new. And again, it's non-invasive. It's so gentle, and it meets you where you're at. So I actually formulate it in such a way, coming from such a diverse experience myself because of what I went through. Um, it's something I put a lot of thought into how I did what I did.
So beautifully said. I could tell you've been thinking about this, working on this for a long time, but I love that. May I ask a little bit about your near death experience, because that's so fascinating.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, sure.
well, and what you describe is something that we hear a lot when we hear about near death experiences, which is somebody or something says you're not ready to come home yet. You got to go back to Earth, and that there's this conversation that happens. May I ask, was there the other, I guess, stereotypical experiences? Did you see the white light? Did you see relatives that had passed on? Who were you talking to that said you need to go back?
So when I had my near death experience, it was interesting because I was drugged with the date rape drug. So I got away from the person, but I was driving my car to my house. And the drugs were so strong and powerful that I literally blacked out behind the wheel. And then the car went, 45 miles an hour into a tree at a church, which, doctors say was the best thing that could have happened to me, because the drugs were so strong, it could have killed me if the person would have gotten me, or if I would actually made it home. So this is what actually allowed them to help me. But when that happened, again, I was already in an unconscious state. As soon as the accident happened, I went into a coma. So by the time they actually got to me, I barely had a pulse, but I was already in a comatose state. And I remained in the coma for 3 days. So that's what physically happened here. The only thing I remember from that is I remember going down a tunnel really fast. Now, I didn't do the thing where I was hovering outside my car. Like, none of that is in my memory at all. But I do remember very vividly and explicitly going down a tunnel really fast. Again, everything was happening really fast. And it was 3 days here, but on the other side, it felt like less than a minute. It didn't feel like very long. Um, and I saw a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I could see a light that it was going forward towards, because again, it was very dark. And then it's almost as if I popped out. Like, I just popped out of that hole really fast. And then I was feeling like I was very high in the sky, is how it felt energetically. And it was a bright white light. So just bright white light. I didn't see blue sky or anything like that. I just saw a bright light. And I didn't see my body, but interestingly enough, my eyes were open. Like, I was actually visually able to see things. And that's what's interesting about some people that have had near-death you visually see. And that's, again, why eyes open meditation was something I incorporated. But I just saw a bright light. I didn't see anybody. I didn't have any relatives or anything, people showing up. And I was told, it's not your time yet. You need to go back. Like, it was almost as if I was stopped. So possibly a little bit further, is when I could have seen relatives or something like that. But in my case, it was really, you're not supposed to go any farther than this. Like, it's not your time yet. You need to go back. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? And again, the conversation happened. And it's interesting because you have an innate knowing inside you that you're speaking to the creator or creation or whatever you want to call it, because there's no question. It's you're coming from, talking to somebody that you trust and that is a universal force. So it's quite interesting once you experience it, and it's something that you remember it as if it just happened. It doesn't change in your memory. It doesn't lose your understanding. Again, it's 100%. And what in this world is 100%? We question things all the time. So when something's 100%, you just kind of know it. It's not a, core belief that you kind of think, oh, maybe it was or maybe it wasn't. It comes in very direct and very strong. But it was interesting because it was also telepathic. I didn't see my body. And whenever I would think something in this conversation, I would get the answer. So the conversation was telepathic, and it was with a source of something that I had no question was divinely guided. And, it's not your time yet. You need to go back. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Again, I'm having this conversation. Like, what am I supposed to do in this world? Which was quite interesting to have that come from your own self. And I was told to utilize the bridging technique, and there's certain people that I'm supposed to heal that only I can heal, that I need to go back because this is what I need to do. And again, that's when I said, is that it? Like, that's not all I'm supposed to do, because I was pretty young. And I was told, no, you're going to do many things. You're going to make it your own, but you got to start there. So go back so you can start there. And I was just like, okay, and again, up there, everything was so peaceful and loving and beautiful. It felt so good. And I was so excited, like, I felt so good. And then really fast back into my body. Again, I didn't hover over. I did go directly into my body. And when I did, I remember getting up, and my instinct was to go to the bathroom, and I fell out of the bed because of the head injury. And that's when doctors rushed in and knocked me out. And next thing I remember, I was in a wheelchair being wheeled out of the hospital, explaining to me what had happened to me, And again, I noticed my family. I recognized my family, but a lot of my memory prior to that, like, I remembered right before, but it was all kind of blurry. And when visions do come back, they feel like a dream, that feels really far away. It doesn't feel very close. So, it's part of my awakening experience. And, I really have put so much effort to help others, because we have ways that we can do things. We can do it proactively to where we're actually taking steps to help ourselves get closer to our soul, or it can happen reactively. I feel like what took place to me was very reactive. If there was something I could have done to change that course of action, I would have. But, being bedridden for a year after and then healing for many years thereafter, I want to do everything I can to help people proactively remove the fragments so they don't reactively have to go through something a little bit more traumatic, in their lifetime.
It's such an amazing dramatic story and like a testimony, really. That's the word that comes to me is such a powerful testimony. I wonder when you came back then and you with this message of use the bridging technique and there's specific people you're meant to heal, as those people started to come into your experience, come across your path, did you then have that knowing, oh, this is one of them? Or did it come in later? Or how did that work?
It's interesting. It's really beautiful. You never really know 100% because again, I'm not on the other side. That knowingness was so direct because I was on the other side. Even though I'm connected to the other side, I get divine guidance. We still, as humans, have a lot of questions with stuff. So I wonder, like, are there more people? I've helped plenty of people, but very interestingly, there were some people that would show up and I'm like, I know this is one of them. Like, I would just know I'm supposed to work with this person. And I did work with them and I still do till this day. And it's interesting because all of those people that I was actually helping were philanthropists. And they're the ones that taught me what they do. I mean, they're philanthropists, is what they do. And that's where I'm like, I should start a nonprofit. And that's where I got the idea to actually make this, creation of the sound formula something that was done through a nonprofit. It was inspired by them. And so, the board members of Supernal World Creations are part of the people that I helped heal and that helped, give back to me what I helped them with. And so I do feel, like I've met those people and, they sit on the board and it's something that, I'm so happy to have contributed to them. And then, likewise, they contributed back their, genius that they had and what they did for their philanthropic journey. And I can, learn from them as well and share that so that we're giving to the world.
It's so cool how that all has come together and continues to come together. I'm always struck by different people's life journeys, entrepreneurial journeys, just the way that it's like you described, like you get a little piece of it here, you get a little piece of it here. And sometimes these things don't even seem related. And then, 20, 30 years later, you can look back and you go, oh, wow, look at that perfect design and look how everything came together. And the more I learn about that, see other people's journeys, experience that for myself, the more I have a sense of really a deterministic faith. Like there is a path, like there is a thing. And sometimes a feeling of, I'll joke around and say the universe is saying, walk or I'm going to push you, because this is
Yeah, exactly.
the way it's going. Do you feel that way or how do you feel about just the concept of free will? How much free will do we have in that sense?
Oh, I think we all have free will. Yeah. And it's, again, choosing to surrender our will to co-create with creation. That's really been, my determining factor because I was so broken, and I'm connected to the other side. I've got this connection and, you don't get answers right away when you ask. Like I would ask questions like, okay, how am I supposed to do this bridging thing? Like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I've asked so many questions. I read so many books trying to find answers. Like it was a long journey to really create this stuff. And I, having a direct connect, I would ask questions like, just tell me exactly what to do. And I promise you I'll do it. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. And one of the things I learned was, we have stuff in this world where we have good and bad, we have dark and we have light. So there is a shadow component to existence and reality here. So, the light's not going to just give you the whole download of everything that's supposed to happen between now and 18 years later. You're going to get the very next step and that's it. And that's what I was taught. Like we can teach you little pieces, but the reason for that is because it could get sabotaged. And, if I would have been able to know who every person was or connect to this person and go here, I would have done it, but it could have also been sabotaged by opposition in this world. So there is a, confusion to that with people sometimes of, what am I supposed to do? Just tell me. But we only have one step at a time. And that is so that we can, be in the moment, be in the present moment and discover that. But have faith that we are going to take that big goal that we're searching for. And it will, over time, you can look back and see how you've already been formulating it. And so, yeah, that's been a real knowingness to me is, trust the process, and you're not going to have all the answers, even if you're connected. You won't always have that. But just to, keep moving forward and, keep understanding everything's an inside job, and we have opportunities to help remove the blockages so that we can get closer to that dream and desire we're all seeking.
I love that explanation so much, and just kind of helped me understand some things. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I
Yay.
appreciate you. Tell us where we can find you, where we can find SoulLink, how we can get it, and we'll also link to all that in the show notes here for folks watching.
Sure. So we're going to be announcing the launch date here pretty soon on social media. So connect with us on social media. But you can find out about SoulLink at soul-link.org. And all of our social media links are on that page. And you can get SoulLink app. All the app connects are on that page. And you can read more about the science behind it, how you can use this, and kind of what it's about. So soul-link.org.
I know what I'm doing tonight as soon as I get home. So, Dr. Donella, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you on our show. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. It's great to talk with you, and I love everything that you're doing. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.